Stop hoping for your business to grow and start mastering the formula for success that every entrepreneur needs to grow their business. Join us for 5+1 Mastery, where every week we go in depth on how to grow your business the right way. Learn more at 5+1mastery.com.
What I did this morning is reached out to several seniors that I know and said, how you hanging in there? Yeah. What are you worried about? What can we talk about? I'm here and I'm listening, and I can't imagine how you're feeling right now. Empathy matters.
I'm your host, Chas Wilson. I bring you successful entrepreneurs, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper.
All right. Welcome everyone to this episode of Connect, Share, Prosper. This is episode 102, and we got a lot to talk about today, and I'm excited for this episode. Let me tell you about my guest today on episode 102 of Connect, Share, Prosper. Our guest, Carrie, she's a wife and mom of 4 who's juggling life. And after finding herself over 6 figures in debt, overweight and overwhelmed, she decided to take matters into her own hands. Being denied for job interviews and feeling hopeless, she started her first profitable business at home. With no official business training, 2 little ones at home, a husband traveling with his job, and 0 startup capital, Carrie launched a small business that grew to 6 figures in her first year. She's been at it now for over 20 years. We were just talking about this before we went live. And she's founded and sold several companies, paid off every dime of debt, and added 2 more kids to the mix. And Carrie firmly believes you can create a part-time or full-time business on your terms and have the life you want. And right now, this is such a timely message about control and having control of your business and your life. Please help me welcome to episode 102 of Connect, Share, Prosper, Carrie Wilkerson. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. What interesting times we're in right now.
Yeah, we were talking about this. In fact, I just got an email from you, or from your team as it went out, about what do we do with this. I loved your vitamin C, by the way.
Thank you. That's me.
Yeah, you're the C, Carrie, vitamin C. Your daily dose. So I'm bringing you already, Master Networks Tribe, I'm bringing you the daily dose of vitamin C from Carrie
There you go.
Wilkerson.
Y'all are first. I haven't even broadcasted that to my audience yet. Y'all are first.
I love that. So, what do we do right now? Maybe let me set some context. This last week for me, I have never had more just minute by minute conversations with different people, and it's flying in, and we're talking to government officials. I have friends from Mayo Clinic, medical professionals. I'm getting one piece of advice from them and others, and I'm getting from one end of the spectrum from some of our members, like, thank you for what you're doing, to, fill in the adjective of what we are because we're still holding chapter meetings. Some are virtual. We're still planning on holding Connect. I mean, we are just getting, it's sad.
It's divisive for sure, but that's kind of the way our society is right now about everything.
Yeah.
So those of you that are watching this on replay, maybe we're of course talking about the COVID virus and the pandemic that's sweeping the nation. We are not the first nation to undergo this. We maybe are the most informed nation because of social media and our channels. However, I might risk saying we also might be the most me first nation.
Yes.
And so the way people are responding to this is heartbreaking and fascinating. Like the JetBlue passenger that flew and then told them after they landed that he had tested positive for the virus. He knowingly exposed everybody on the plane. That's a very selfish move. Whether you believe that the virus is real or not, whether you believe it's going to affect you or not, this is not a time for selfishness. Now, what we talked about a minute ago is that I've been in business 21 years at home. This is not our first crisis. Mm-hmm. This is not even our first medical crisis. However, it's a little different because of media. And because we all feel this real huge right to be able to do what we want when we want, and to heck with everybody else, or that we have this conspiracy mindset that we're not being told everything, or that what we're being told is not true. It's really pretty fascinating. There are about 3 or 4 different camps on this right now. So I would say our number one goal is to stay healthy, but maybe not in the way that you think or the way that you're hearing. I would say your number one goal is to stay mentally healthy. If you are a business owner or a parent, heck, even a concerned citizen or community member. If you have parents still, I have parents prime in this dangerous demographic. We have to stay mentally healthy, and we have to stay with an attitude of thinking of the greater good. Number one, this is not a time to think of me first. This is not a time to say hustle or grind. I've seen so many posts this morning. Heck with COVID, we're going to do our group workout anyway because we've got goals to slay.
Yeah.
Goal,
Yeah.
At home for just a little while, work out at home. But for the business owner, we have to recognize that yes, it's going to affect our economy. Yes, it's going to affect our daily habits and our routines, but we have to stay mentally healthy. So I'm going to stay in front of my people every day for a while, virtually.
Yes.
Encouraging them and giving them some practical advice and tips. The number one being don't panic, don't be fearful, but do be prepared. And if we overreact, if this is an overreaction and it passes, or we flatten the curve really quickly, great. That's perfect.
Yes.
If we don't react appropriately, if we don't react quickly enough, and a pandemic, an outbreak, and catastrophic health happens as a result, we have only ourselves to blame. So it's a time of a little bit of imbalance and overcorrection, but really thankful, let me say, for communities like yours and communities like mine, where our people, even though they're isolated, they don't have to be alone. They don't have to feel alone. So I'm actually very encouraged by that.
Yeah, I agree. We have a lot of people joining us today. Guys, make sure you share this episode out to your friends, get them on. I agree. In fact, I told our team an hour ago that I'm going to go live every day because I think there's three things right now. I think it's your mindset, your skill set, and your network. And you got to keep plugging into the mindset, your skill set, and your network. We've been saying for 9 years. It's interesting. I never thought it would be now, and I never thought it would be this, but we've been saying for 9 years that something would come, sometimes something would happen, and you're going to rely on your network. And yet I'm seeing people run from it versus kind of dive into it. My wife and I we reached out to several people in our neighborhood, friends, family, et cetera, that we know that, like you said, are in that high risk spot, and said, hey, what do you need? Let us go get something for you or help you. And I wish we're seeing some of that, but there should be more of that versus this nastiness in some cases. So like you said, somebody may go to the gym, and that, again, whether we think that's the right decision or not, they post it, and then you just see people talk about slaying a goal. They're getting slain on social media for, doing that kind of stuff. It's a sad thing to see.
Well, the good thing is we are at a time in technology when we can do almost everything at home. We can order food. We can get groceries delivered. We can order car service if we need it. We can pick up stuff on curbs. Who knew that when Chili's and Applebee's and Spring Creek and all these places started delivering to the curb, who knew that was, well, that at first was just catering to our busyness and our pamperedness, right? Our privilege. Right. And now it's kind of a necessary thing. So I'm really grateful for technology. My teens are pushing back on social isolation a little bit. So I've had to reach out to the other mamas and say, mamas, these are the facts. They're only going to comply if we band together on this. They're only going to comply. And while I can go to lunch with my friends and know that we can sit 3 to 6 feet apart and know that we can still, teenagers and tweenagers cannot be trusted to do that.
Right.
Because they have that bulletproof brain that they think they have. And so we have to lead by example, even at the point of self-sacrifice. So today when I go live with my people, I'm going to talk about how we keep going. So is that what you want to talk about? Or do you want to talk about, what do you want to talk about? It's your show.
First of all, thank you for just addressing it. It's the elephant in the room right now. I mean, it's like, how do you not discuss it? I think really my thought is twofold. One is, I'm just going to read something, I guess, for point one, and that's how do we serve each other in this time?
Yeah. And
then number two, as a business owner, what should I be thinking about and really doing right now when others might be going left? How do I go right? So I'm going to just share something with you. My wife posted this the other day on social media when she was out. And some of you who follow, my wife was episode 100. She finally came in and did episode 100. And so some of you got to see her and meet her there. But she said this, she said, "Dear Amy," and Amy's sort of unknown. She met Amy. She said, "Thank you for redeeming my faith in humanity. It's become apparent that many in our society have taken an every man for himself stance and more concerned about self-preservation," this is what you were talking about, "than anything else. Yesterday, while we were waiting side by side in parallel lines at Winco, the grocery store here locally, I've been waiting in that line wrapped around shelves for over 30 minutes. You waved at me over to a middle register next to you that only had a line of 2 people. We struck up a conversation, and I profusely thank you for waving me over. My cart was overflowing. We talked about craziness that was taking place, the school and community closings and our kids and so forth. I told you that I had 5 kids, hence the massive cart situation. You only had a couple of items in your cart and offered me your cart after you checked out. You also volunteered to help me bag all my groceries, and I graciously accepted your cart, but graciously declined needing help with bagging my groceries. Miss Amy, you are a gem. You truly are a beautiful light in this world. Not only did you give me your cart, but as both grocery belts were being filled with my groceries, you walked over and just started bagging my groceries. You even put my groceries in your cart too. By the time we had finished bagging, we were both in a full sweat. You just looked at me and said, 'Where are you parked? Let me help you unload all your groceries into your car.' I gave you a hug and said how much I appreciated all your help and how amazing I thought you were. You replied, 'No problem. Have a blessed day. You too, Amy. You too.' A lesson for all of us, be like Amy." And I think in this situation right now, how can we as business people be like Amy, and what are some of the thoughts we can be thinking about right now?
Yeah, I think as business owners and primary income earners, sometimes we panic instead of pivot. And we think, "Oh my gosh, I need to have a COVID sale." And we see this, we see other companies doing this, or, "Oh my gosh, I need to let people know what this really is and really isn't and why," and shame them, into still taking action anyway.
Yeah.
I think empathy is the order of the day. Whether you get it or not, whether you agree or not, empathy is the order of the day. I can dismiss all day long 18-year-olds and how sad they are about their senior year, but it doesn't change how they feel about it.
Yes.
It's a big deal to them. It's the biggest deal in their world so far. It's the same generation that came in during 9/11, and now their graduations are being wrecked by COVID. Their spring musicals, they're all
Oh,
these.
yeah.
And so what I did this morning is reached out to several seniors that I know, and said, "How you hanging in there? What are
Yeah.
you worried about? What can we talk about? I'm here and I'm listening, and I can't imagine how you're feeling right now." Empathy
Yeah.
matters, and your customers and your clients are panicked about something, whether
That's
it's the
good.
stock market or the virus itself and the health. They may just be panicked about their kids being home for 8 weeks,
Right.
4 weeks. And
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of homeschoolers, and I love that population, but I've seen a lot of homeschool moms like shaming other people. Like, "What are you guys panicking about? This is our life all year long. Welcome to the dark side." Blah, blah, blah. That's not helpful.
Mm-mm.
It's not helpful. It would be helpful to say, "Hey, we've been homeschooling for these amount of years. And while we weren't forced into it with the situation you guys are, here are some things we have found helpful." So I think empathy with your business owners or your clients would be super helpful. I also think it's a time you have to look at how you've done business. And if your people have stopped spending or their buying habits have changed, if they have not changed, they will.
Yes.
And you need to look at your marketing. I'm getting auto emails from other campaigns, people that have not gone into their campaigns and changed them with some, "Are you an entrepreneur or a one-upreneur?" I'm like, this is not
Timing. Yeah.
this is not the time for
Yeah.
oppositional marketing. This is not the
Yeah.
time for bully marketing. It's not even the time for political marketing, you guys, even if you have a polarizing brand. I think we do still need to show up and look up and get up. I am really advocating all my clients, keep your routine.
Mm-hmm.
Up, shower, get dressed. Fuel yourself wisely with your food choices, with your media choices, with the people around you choices. That matters. Also,
I
that's how you
agree.
lead by example with your kids. Have a pajama day once a week, even though they're home all week. But if, like the weekend, we kind of just blew the weekend. But I told mine today, going to get dressed. We're not hanging out in pajamas all day. Today, we're going to make our COVID bucket list. We've got a poster board. Everybody's going to pick out a couple of meals they want to make sure we have during this time while we have time to cook, a couple of movies that we all want to see, a couple of games. We downloaded Jackbox TV Party Pack number 4 or 5 last night. We love games. And so we even said, let's look at some books we want to read. And so we have this list so that we're not aimless and wandering. And your business has to be the same way. I made a business bucket list this morning. What can I accomplish during this downtime? Now, some practical money things. You might look at extending trials. You might look at scholarshiping a couple of things. You might look at expanding a time period of a coaching program. You might look at a buy one, get one free. Anytime you can express empathy through something like that, it's really powerful. Mint Mobile has done this in the last couple of days. Loom, Loom Screencasting has done this and expanded their plans and offering free plans. Some of the internet companies are doing this for kids whose parents can prove they're on meal subsidy, are getting free internet plans so that they can remote homeschool. Guys, when you can show empathy in your business dealings, that's super helpful. That shows that you're listening and that you care, whether you agree with it or not. Nobody's opinions matter right now. Your actions matter right now. And this is what'll carry you, into the next thing. However, I would encourage you spend wisely, that you invest wisely right now. Stock market's a very real thing. I'm married to a retirement planner. You can imagine what his phone is doing.
I'm sure.
And so what I would say is be careful of your discretionary spending. Don't shop to make yourself feel better. Yes, you can do some shopping to support small business and encourage them to keep going, but don't go crazy. Don't go bananas. If you are in a perilous credit situation already, get ahead of it. Call your companies about some forbearance. Call your companies. You will not be the first call. This is not a shameful situation. You call and say, we anticipate that our revenue is going to tank. I'll tell you a very real situation. My revenue for 2020, my projections are down 70% right now. And I'll tell you how. Almost every keynote has canceled. And that's a lion's share.
We haven't yet. And I say because until they tell us that we have to, we have not.
No, I get it. But so many others have.
Sure.
My friends that are in the speaking industry are hurting because of force majeure. Like people don't have to enforce their contracts.
I was going to ask you about that. So let's just touch on that for a second.
Yeah.
So I just had 2 calls this morning with people who speak from stages. They spoke either last year, or the year before at Connect, or friends of mine. And we were talking through that this morning. And they're having to pivot because a lot of the events they had been booked are already canceling. And it's interesting. One had one thought process, like you said, divisive, but not divisive, but one had one school of thought, and one had the other. And one is that some of the events were struggling to fill their seats, and so they're using this as a potential way to just be done. And that's one thought. And then the other is, they don't want to risk anything, so they're canceling their event. But nonetheless, here they are stuck with this. Now they've got to pivot and have other sources. So what are some of the things you're looking at doing, and how are some of your friends handling it?
Well, one of the reasons they can't fill their events is because people are being told not to travel and not to congregate. So we can't fault anybody in that situation.
No, for sure.
The CDC coming down with things and the president having press conferences. I mean, you have to rethink things. So not only have I had a lot of things out of my control cancel, which directly affects my bottom line.
Yes.
I mean, you can watch income fly out my windows right now. And the other thing is my live event, which I have 2 a year, they account for roughly half my income because of CDC regulations and people panicking on the other end, both and I made a decision to switch mine to virtual. So I've seen in a matter of 10 days, my income for the year decreased by 70%.
Yeah.
So I could panic or I could pivot. And so what I'm going to say is, what have I learned over the past 21 years? How can I work with my clients in a different way? How can I spend differently? Not stop spending, not panic freeze, but how can I spend differently? How can I provide value to my people? and how can I lead them responsibly through this? I'm a leadership graduate, and I like to model leadership. And so I believe we have to prepare, not panic. So part of that
Gosh.
is just doing things differently, but not stopping.
First of all, let me just say, and I understand it, and the empathy there to you that, this, first of all, I'm sorry that you're going through that too, of 70% of your potential income. But I do think, first of all, this will pass at some way. We'll get through this like other things in the past, and not to panic, but to pivot.
Yep.
And I agree with you on that. I love it. All the comments right now. Panic or pivot. Those are your choices. Panic or pivot. What will you do? Yes. Show empathy. Hashtag be like Amy. Yeah, I agree. I think this is the point. And last Friday I talked about, the military, they prepare physically, mentally, emotionally, strategically, then they have a plan. And then when those don't work exactly they have to pivot on the battlefield. And that's like business, right? And you've prepared. So what you're falling back to is everything you've prepared for and planned so that you can pivot, right?
Exactly. And, something that comes with age and wisdom, hopefully, is that we financially prepare, that we're learning skills as we go, that we can implement, in times like these. The people that typically get in the most trouble are the people that have been spending like they have so much time to make it up again, people that have leveraged themselves a little too much. Also, people that have had crises. I mean, I have a special needs son who, for a period of about 10 years, was one financial crisis after another. It seemed like.
Yes.
The week before the COVID outbreak, I have a daughter that announced an engagement. I have one about to start driving, and one that had a braces appointment that week. So in 1 week, we have braces, an engagement, and a car, right? So at the same time as income is canceling left and right. But being frozen in fear doesn't serve your people, and it doesn't serve you or your family. So we have to look and say, okay, what's real, what's perceived, and what can I possibly do about it? It may be that you side hustle on some things you haven't done in a while, serving people in other ways. It may be that, it may be that you create a different package, or you mentor people in a different way. Do not assume that people are going to stop buying. Do not assume. Some people, this will be what pushes them to finally make a decision, or they're now going to be home for 2 to 4 weeks and they have time to implement whatever it is that you're selling.
So true.
Don't assume about anybody. And yes, you keep going. Yes, you show empathy. Yes, you show up for people, but you also cannot appear opportunistic. Empathy will be opportunity every day of the week, and they have a radar for that kind of thing. They will sniff you out if they think, oh my gosh, a COVID package, really? Is this what's happening?
Right.
So be careful with that. Have empathy and make sure it makes sense with what you say that you're offering.
So I want to tie the two things you just said together in a sense of, like, you talked about showing empathy. And I think that goes to, right now, there are people who have a lot of pressure as business owners, right? I mean, you just talked about 70% income. You've got braces and an engagement. And, I'm thinking about some of the things in my life too, with some health challenges in our family, and some, kids with braces, same thing. Some of those things. And I think there's a lot of pressure to make good choices right now. And as a business owner, your choices impact a lot of people. And so I think we need to take a step back, take a deep breath, have some empathy for people, but then also dive into our network, because I'm realizing as you're talking, like, how helpful this conversation is with you and I right now. Like, I realize there's other people watching this, but it's sort of like just you and I talking right now. And I realize from one business owner to another how important that is. And this is why networks are so important, and why we need each other in times like this, not run for the hills and hide. So first of all, I thank you for sharing that. Guys, we're here on episode 102 with Carrie Wilkerson. If you have a question for Carrie, she's just a voice of wisdom through this storm right now that a lot of you are feeling in some of your economies, some of your local economies right now.
Yeah, we've been in business through 9/11. We were at he quit his job right after that to stay home and work with me on my business. I was a sole income provider through a founder of a company we worked with died, and that kind of froze everybody for a little while.
Mm.
We were in business. I was the sole income provider in the 2008 recession and fallout from that. So this is not our first, this is not our first rodeo with this. It is requiring a little bit of a different response. It's certainly unprecedented as far as the media and reactionary and
Yes.
the way people are not afraid to be so divisive and opinionated about it. Let me also, as business owners, say any social media property that you have, this is a time to be vigilant with your social media property. I'm going to give you permission as your social fairy godmother, media fairy godmother.
Yes.
I'm going to give you permission to block people, to delete negative comments, to refrain from engaging in non-helpful debate, to abstain from investing relationship capital in arguments or educating
Agreed.
the unwilling to be educated. It's time to take a deep breath and step back and gain some social distancing from those people too. I love the mute button on Instagram. I love the unfollow. I don't necessarily unfriend people on Facebook when they're overwhelming me a little, but I do unfollow so that I'm not being barraged with their things. But also I do a lot of editing and not posting of comments of my own. If Chas posts something that I really want to educate him about or really want to jump in about, I have to say, is it worth the relationship capital that I'm about to expend on that? Is this even worth having, or would this be better over coffee?
Right.
Is he even open to listening? And 9 times out of 10, the answers to all those are no. And so I disengage and I go post something more encouraging or different elsewhere. You do not have to engage. And if you own the social media profile, you do not have to let that toxic comment or article or rebuttal stay on your page. And if they come back and say, why'd you delete my comment? Because I can.
Yes.
I can.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, it's your business. You wouldn't let them pick it inside your business's front door. You own it. So be willing to eject toxicity and negativity there. I still have people in my circle that are saying, this is just media hype and we're about to go buy tickets to Italy because they're less than half price. And I'm not even going to engage. I'm just going to delete it. It's just not worth the capital. So
great wisdom in that. Great wisdom in that. Be a producer of positivity instead of a consumer of chaos. Like just be a producer of social media, not a consumer of it. Right? It's your business tool.
Right.
But sitting there reading all that stuff all day long is not helping you. And if you're gonna follow people like Carrie. Plug into her messages. Plug into the messages we're putting before you guys and the people I'm putting in front of you. That's what you want to plug into. By the way, just listening to Carrie is not putting your head, or myself is putting your head in the sand. It's putting up boundaries to yourself, right? I mean, that's what you got to do.
Exactly. And it's just really important. You wouldn't eat poison on purpose.
Right.
Why would you go submerge yourself in it, voluntarily? So it's a good time for boundaries. It's a good time for self-care. It comes in a lot of different forms. And just don't spend all the relationship capital, because people will watch you now and that will affect your business later. Yes. And if you're being toxic, or if you're engaging or debating, or they think you're responding unreasonably, they're going to never come back. So
correct.
It's better for you to be the grown-up. I keep having to say to myself, I am the grown-up, I am the grown-up, I am the grown-up. This is also a good time to purge your emails. When you get opportunistic emails, or when you get emails that are inflammatory or even insensitive, or, this is a good time to purge what you're allowing into your inbox. This is a great time for infrastructure projects. And what I mean by that is something I teach my clients is you have to know what your motive is in business at any given time, your number 1 priority and your number 2 priority, because we can pretty much only focus on 2 at a time out of the core 5. One of those is infrastructure. As business owners, we tend to get so busy serving our customers or marketing for new customers that we neglect our infrastructure. This would be a great time to go clean up your email sequences, to update your logos or your colors, to go rewrite some of your copy, to go work on what your upsells or downsells or offers look like. It reminds me of when I student taught, and I student taught well beyond when the mimeograph, was in. When I was in high school, we still had teachers making purple copies, right? Anybody remember that? The mimeograph. Yeah. Well, when I student taught, we were well beyond that, but I still had teachers using that or some variation thereof. And it's because, and you guys have heard this excuse and you've used this excuse, I'm too busy to revamp that system right now. Right. Guess what? You've just been gifted a little bit of project time. So what are a couple of things in your infrastructure that you could work on? Maybe it's website copy or some graphics. Maybe it's some packaging, or whatever your business model happens to be. Maybe you're rewriting your phone script, whatever that looks like. Maybe this is the time. And then that lets you fund some other freelancers or small business owners that are going to help you with that. So this is a great time for infrastructure. Do not be paralyzed. Do not freeze. Do not stop, because grinding the wheels to go again after you come to a full stop is very discouraging and very difficult, and it'll find you at the job line, because you'll convince yourself it's easier to get a job than to restart your business. So I would say keep moving in a productive direction. Yes, you want to keep serving your customers, getting new customers, but this would be a good time for some infrastructure. I have a COVID bucket list of infrastructure things I'm tweaking over the next few weeks, because truthfully, this could be 2 weeks. This could be 8. We don't know.
Yeah, right.
We don't know.
I think that's the hard part, is the unknown, right? At least in some other things that we've been through, there has been some sort of like history framework to work through. And I think there's so much information that's one way or the other. And so I know for me as a business owner, we're looking at different things. It feels like we're having to pivot multiple times a day based on different information we're getting back and forth. And I think for some of you who are watching today, that becomes the challenge. And I think what Carrie said is just great wisdom. Work on your business, work on the infrastructure, now, there's another thought I had too when you were saying this. There are some of you who have great products or services that you offer right now that will really be in need right now. And that doesn't mean you're being sort of like opportunistic in the sense of like being a prey or a predator in the market on your prey. No, you're saying, look, what I have serves right now. And so don't hide. If you have value, get it out there.
Also, don't jack your price up. That's when it becomes opportunistic.
There you go.
Being helpful and serving and providing. It doesn't mean you have to discount it. It doesn't mean you have to give it away. But this is also a time to switch a little bit to educational mode. This is some advice that I reached out to a couple of pastors with. Okay, so our pastors, churches are going to be hurting. Why are they going to be hurting? Well, because they still have all their same expenses and payroll and mission giving, if not bigger giving, because of how people are going to be hungry. But when people aren't going to be there week upon week upon week, they're going to forget to give. Or they're going to be cutting their discretionary expenses, and they're going to think that means the church too. So I called a few pastors this morning just to say, can I give you some advice of how I see the market right now? Can I help? And they were very open. And I said, listen, take this or leave this. But what I would do immediately is I would start getting, first of all, I would do a small Devo online every single day, rotate it through the staff. Don't let it be just the pastor. Let it be your women. Let it be your custodian. Let it be whoever. 5 minutes of, hey, we're still here. We're still your church staff. Number 2 is I would take an educational bent. I would say, here's how your church dollars are still working in this crisis. Here's how we are serving people in the community in this crisis. Here's how we can help, because people need to see how their dollars are working. However, it can't just be an ask of, hey, don't forget to keep giving. Hey, don't make this optional. We have to kind of turn it around. So 3 ways, these gloves are going to be handy over the next few weeks, or 2 ways hand sanitizer can be useful, or, just make sure you have an educational bent instead of an opportunistic bent, because as entrepreneurs, we tend to be very conclusion drawing, and we can see inferences and parallels and connect the dots. A lot of our population is very linear, especially when they have an increased adrenaline and cortisol response. They can be very panic focused, and hand sanitizer is for hands, toilet paper is for toilet paper, and nothing else can be in between, right? So
right.
we as leaders need to teach people how to think out of the box, need to teach people how the other ways you can use this, need to say to people, hey, I know assisted living centers are shut down for visitors, but they can accept mail and they can accept deliveries. I posted on my Facebook a picture of a man who cannot go see his dad in his neighborhood because the assisted living is shut down. So he's sitting outside his dad's patio, the glass window, talking to his dad on the phone. And they said he comes every day instead of just calling from his house.
So good.
He thinks it's healthy for his dad to see him.
Yes.
I think that will spawn a lot of people going, oh, what a good idea. People that would not necessarily have thought of that before. So I think back to Mr. Rogers, who says, in times of crisis, always look at your helpers. What are your helpers doing and how can you be a helper?
Yes.
And don't be afraid of looking foolish. Don't be afraid of making a mistake. Don't be afraid of being the only one or being criticized. This is a time for leadership, and it will be a great investment in your business. Even if you don't see the return right now, you will at some point.
Gosh, Carrie, that was such a good way to kind of put a bow on everything you just said. I mean, this is a special time, and I am seeing our tribe, and I'm sure yours as well, because they're very similar, come together and in many ways reach out and help other people. And that's what I'm hoping. I hope that we show more empathy and love to each other during this time. I hope that we're more service oriented. And that we don't retreat. Like this gentleman you just talked about, he came up with a solution in a challenge, and that's what entrepreneurs do, is they come up with a solution. So he sits in front of the door to still see his dad because he knows how vitally important that is for him, for both of them, I'm sure. And so what a great way. Guys, we've been really enriched and fed today from Carrie. And first of all, thank you for being on this episode. And like you, I'm going to go live every day just to be there for the community, to share some thoughts I have and get our mindset correct. And so if you're following today, Carrie, how can people follow you? How can they find you? How can they connect with you if they want to, hear some of your messages right now?
Yeah, so I am really active on Instagram, Carrie Wilkerson. I spell it like Stephen King did, right? Carrie, Carrie Wilkerson. Also on Facebook, Carrie Wilkerson. That's where I'll be going live every day for the next little while with your daily dose of vitamin C.
Love it.
Because I believe, and you know what my hashtag is, I believe we need to keep calm and hashtag carry on. Spelled like my name, obviously.
Yes.
But I believe that means resilience.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that means grace. And also persistence. And sometimes we don't see grit as also being grace, but I really think they can work together beautifully, especially in times like this. So let's get out of our inward thinking, our navel staring, right?
So
and
true.
Outward, how can I serve? How can I help? How can I be a benefit? And I believe as business owners, it can, while we do have some challenging times ahead. There will be economic ripples. Things will change. We are done with business as usual. However, what does this make possible? What can we learn from this? How can we serve beautifully and differently from this? And how can we stand out as a leader in our industry instead of hiding as somebody fearful and panicky? Our people need us to step up, show up, and look up.
I love it. Guys, a couple quick questions. Yes, follow Carrie for her daily dose of vitamin C. And then there was another question. Yes, so I don't know exactly what time I'm going live on Facebook every day. We're actually looking because I've got to pivot and change some of my calendaring to make that happen. It may not be the exact same time every day. I'm going to try to go sometime in the early morning to midday so that you're building your day with that kind of mindset. But watch our pages for that. And Carrie, we'd be happy to share some of your stuff when you go live as well. Guys, it's an interesting time. This is a time to connect with your network, improve your mindset, read great books, listen to good topics, things of that nature. Your skill set, work on your business, your infrastructures. It's a good time to read books on different things that you can improve skills, practice those things. And then, of course, your network. And if you improve those three things, you're going to see yourself come out the other side ready when all those who are running away from it are not ready for what's coming on the other side of it. So, Carrie, again, thank you for being our guest on Connect, Share, Prosper. We look forward to more and look forward to seeing you at Connect. Till next time, everybody. Remember, every Monday, noon Central, I bring you successful entrepreneurs like Carrie. Look, we talk about topics relative to what's going on. We share our ups, our downs, highs and lows, so that we can help you build big legacy beyond the business. Till next time, everyone, take care.
Stop hoping for your business to grow and start mastering the formula for success that every entrepreneur needs to grow their business. Join us for 5+1 Mastery, where every week we go in depth on how to grow your business the right way. Learn more at 5+1mastery.com.